Hello and welcome to the first grade trimester 3 life science overview. So we have the bundles of standards here, and this unit is all about inherited traits that plants and animals have that they get from their parents, and also behavioral traits that animals learn after they're born. So let's start out with the big idea, simple big idea for the first grade students. Parents and offspring of both plants and animals look somewhat but not exactly alike. And the point here is we're trying to get students to recognize that animals get traits from their parents, so do plants, and most of those traits are going to be similar to their parents, but they're going to be slightly different. There's going to be some little variations, and those variations may lead to a trait that is more suitable for survival in an environment. So we're talking about the basics of natural selection. So the storyline here for the teachers to kind of look at and to get an overview of how everything kind of flows together is parents and offspring, both plants and animals, look somewhat but not exactly alike, and they do, and they both do or have things to help the offspring survive. So they have behaviors, or they have just physical structures that help their offspring survive. People are able to design solutions to human problems inspired by structures that help animals or plants survive. So that's going to kind of get into our engineering challenge, where humans have been inspired by looking at animals to create things. Now, when you look at this flow chart, you'll see this is a pretty long unit. It's actually a bit longer than normal. Typically, we only have 2 or 3 big questions, but we have 4 here. This third trimester unit would be done at the end of the year. So maybe you could spend a little bit more time on science because you'd be getting into that last month of the year type of time, and you might have a little bit more flexibility in your schedule at that time of the year. So you're going to start out with an activity where they're going to draw pictures of seeds and plants, draw pictures of a baby and an adult animal. They're going to draw pictures of a real plant in different parts, and they're going to draw a picture of a doll with clothes and diapers and things like that. So all of these are getting at basic needs that both plants and animals need to survive. So after they talk about what they did in the initial engagement activity, they're going to look at, or they're going to create this big idea that baby plants and animals look and act like their parents to help them survive. And then they'll develop some questions. 1, do baby animals look like their parents? So this is going to be more kind of a classification activity where they're going to look at baby animals and comparing them to the adult animals, have a negotiation based on that investigation, and go through our kind of learning rotations here like we have in other trimesters. Now the second one, why do babies cry? And this is kind of getting at behavior and learned behavior. So babies cry because they want food, they need their diaper changed, they're scared, things like that. So they're having their needs met through a behavior that they've learned, that you cry to get attention. So it'll be more of a thought experiment here, and then they will kind of negotiate that question, go through this learning cycle here. The third big question is, do young plants look like their parents? So this is again moving more over to the plant side, since the first 2 questions involved animals. So it would be more of a kind of classification type of investigation again, where they're looking at pictures of different plants and offsprings of those plants and how they do or do not look like their parents. And the last investigation, that kind of go together, these 3 and 4, and I suppose if you needed to, you could kind of do these all together at the same time. But do plants need their roots and leaves to survive? So you're going to actually conduct an investigation where you're going to have some plants where you're going to cut off leaves, some you're going to cut off roots, some you're going to leave alone, and you're going to compare. Now, this one is going to start at the beginning, and those plants are going to grow while you're doing these different activities. So this one's kind of intertwined with the other ones in this bundle. So again, go through the learning cycle and go through your final form assessment. And then finally you're going to have an engineering challenge where students are going to have to create some sort of device that is inspired by an animal or a plant. Because that could be like a maple tree seed that inspired the idea of the helicopter or something like that. So that is your overview for trimester 3.